reveal of a new EV. And this could be a game changer if you're thinking of going electric. But first, what is it? Well, it looks really nice. Actually, more than nice.
It is quite striking, isn't it? If you squint a bit at the front end, there's a hint of Lamborghini Urus about it, which is one of my favourite cars. The razor-sharp headlights, the sloping pointy bonnet, and the blacked-out treatment around the registration plate.
We've even hidden the badge to see if you can guess the maker of this car. I'll give you a clue. It's British-born.
There's also a hint of Lambo about the roofline, and it has a similar pinched-in waist and, of course, the deep black band at the bottom to disguise its height.
Then you get to the rear,
which looks nothing like a Lamborghini. I think it looks a bit like a Honda Civic with all its flamboyant flicks and protruding body parts.
So what is it, this Lambo Honda love child? Have you guessed yet? An MG!
Yes, it is an MG made in China.
So, MG, it was British, best known for the classic MGB in the 60s. Then it was an Austin add-on with the MG Metro, Maestro and Montego in the 80s. And 15 years ago, it went 5,000 miles away to China. MG is a company that we have a lot of time for, as it puts value at the top of the list. This is actually a car at the budget end of the market, but doesn't present like one. The MG4 marks a new chapter for the company because it's built on a new EV platform.
There are 3 levels of spec, starting with the SE standard range. It's got a 170 horsepower motor, a 51 kilowatt hour battery, and the range is 218 miles.
And there's a decent amount of kit thrown in, including an emergency braking system, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, traffic jam assist, and traffic sign recognition.
Shall we talk price? In fact, I'm going to insist on it because the SE standard range costs just £26,000.
Yes, you heard correctly. That's £9 grand cheaper than VW's ID3 with a similar size and spec. Next model up is the SE Long Range, which has a 64 kilowatt battery, so the range rises to 281 miles. Not much is added to the options list, but you can get an active grille at the front, which improves battery cooling and therefore efficiency.
That one has 204 horsepower. 0 to 62 happens in under 8 seconds, and it'll go on to 100 miles an hour.
And the price?
£28,500. So it's still shy of 30 grand.
Now remember, these days £30,000 isn't a lot of money for a full EV. In fact, it's closer to a second-hand price. If you go for the high-spec Trophy Long Range, you'll pay up to £31,500. Still pretty good. But the interior shows signs of cost-cutting.
You can tell that this car is an EV from the ground up because it has got a flat floor throughout the cabin. And underneath that is a battery that is just 11 centimetres deep, and that runs between the front axle and the rear axle. Now, the cabin is a very pleasant place to be. There are no nasty, scratchy plastics. However, I would prefer a better bolstered seat and also some more upmarket material to cover them.
Like most modern cars, the dash is dominated by a large infotainment screen at 10.25 inches. This gives you access to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and other functions.
This system isn't the most intuitive to use, and nor is it the most difficult, but it is a bit tricky to use the screen when you're actually on the move. Best, therefore, to use the bigger buttons and the steering wheel controls if you can. Below all of this is a floating centre console with a wireless charging pad for your phone and the gear selector. Underneath the pad are some holes for wires that you can connect your phone to the Apple CarPlay. It's not the most beautifully designed wiring system I've ever seen.
Directly behind the wheel is another screen with all the usual essential info. Now, the MG4 might be a world away from the cars MG used to make, but it hasn't forgotten its roots because a bit of sportiness lurks within.
This car is rear-wheel drive, as all good sports cars should be, and the weight distribution is 50-50 front and rear. And although it weighs 2,133 kilograms, most of that weight is low down, really close to the ground, giving it a low centre of gravity, which means it should corner very well. As you'd expect with an electric car, the power delivery is pretty potent.
0 to 62 happens in around 7.5 seconds, though top speed doesn't even have 3 numbers, it's 99 miles an hour. When it comes to badge appeal, MG clearly has it. It outsells Mini, Land Rover, Skoda, Volvo and Renault in the UK.
This car is targeting models like VW's ID3. Is it as good? In some areas. Will it steal sales? Absolutely, because this is £9,000 cheaper, and believe me, it's not £9,000 worse.